Even with dark vision, the descent was difficult, tight, spiraling and unnaturally cold. At the bottom, the narrow corridor opened into a vast subterranean chamber. Their boots splashed with every step. "Water?" Wilhelm asked. "No." Oglog lit a torch, and the flickering firelight revealed a floor slick with blood. The bodies of dozens of goatmen littered the chamber, torn apart, drained, mutilated beyond recognition. In the center of the room stood two towering stone gargoyles, motionless. Between them, facing away, stood a tall, humanoid figure, pale-skinned and draped in tattered robes. In one claw hand, it held a pulsing, red orb. It turned. Its eyes were hollow pits, and its face stretched long, fanged, and corpse-like. The air grew thick and cold as it locked gazes with each of them. Wilhelm's blood ran cold. His vision tunneled. That face, those eyes, the creature he had hunted for decades, the monster that murdered his father. It was him. It had to be. Before anyone could act, the creature whispered a word in a language no one understood. It burst apart into a swarm of screeching black bats, which whirled through the chamber in a storm before vanishing up the corridor like a living shadow. They stood stunned for a second. And then the gargoyles moved. The gargoyles exploded to life, granite wings snapping wide with an ear-splitting crack. Their eyes blazed blue as they launched themselves forward with an impossible speed. "Shields up!" Wilhelm bellowed, charging forward with Ogbog beside him. Their weapons clashed against the stone beasts, but the steel of their swords and axes barely chipped the rock. Sparks flew. Wilhelm's war cry turned into a snarl of frustration. Ogblog's shield buckled under a brutal swipe, but he held his ground. Shadowfang tried to strike from behind, his twin daggers flashing. They glanced off the stone hide. The gargoyle responded with a backhanded strike, catching him across the ribs and sending him sprawling across the blood-soaked floor. "Too strong," Shadowfang gasped, coughing blood. Behind them, Jojo and Eldrelon unleashed spell after spell. A lightning bolt crackled through the room from Eldrelon's hands, slamming into one of the gargoyle's chests, scorching the stone and causing it to crack. Jojo's lute rang with arcane energy, sending shards of sound through the air, shattering one of its claws. Dalamar stood calmly, lips moving in an infernal tongue. Twin eldritch blasts screamed through the air, hammering the same gargoyle Jojo hit. It staggered, stone chipping from its side, but it didn't fall. The battle was brutal. Ogblog roared, slamming his sword into the creature's leg again and again, breaking through the cracks. It finally collapsed, crumbling into rubble with a shuddering boom. The second gargoyle grabbed Wilhelm and hurled him into the wall, stunning the dwarf. Eldrelon barely dodged a crushing stomp before retaliating with a fireball, searing the creature from within. Shadowfang, limping, leapt from a pillar and drove his blade into the gargoyle's eye socket, using the momentum of his fall. The last gargoyle roared and fell. Dust and silence followed. Bloodied, bruised, and panting, the group stood victorious, but shaken. The chamber was quiet once more, save for the dripping of blood. In the centre stood the pedestal where the red orb had once rested. Now only a thin film of congealed blood remained. Dalamar, expressionless, unreadable, stepped forward. He knelt, placing his arcane focus on the floor. Dark energy crackled, and the blood began to drain, spiraling inwards. The liquid vanished unnaturally fast, sucked into the focus like water into sand. As the floor cleared, a strange spiral symbol was revealed, etched into the stone. A deep rumble echoed through the chamber. On the far wall, a massive stone door appeared, its surface etched with ancient symbols, glowing faintly. Dalamar approached, proudly.
"Stand aside,"
he muttered. As he lay his hand on the stone, a massive stone beam shot from the door, slamming him square in the chest and throwing him back across the room. He skidded into the blood-stained floor, coughing violently.
"What in the mother's name?"
Jojo said. Dalamar, furious, stood and blasted the door with an eldritch beam. Another stone beam fired back, this time knocking the dark elf almost unconscious. The others chuckled, despite themselves. Eldrelon stepped forward. "Try feeding the pedestal. Blood was the key." Dalamar cut a thin line across his palm and let a few drops fall. The pedestal pulsed. The symbol glowed brighter. The stone door groaned, then slowly opened, scraping open to reveal a cold blue light from within. Inside sat another pedestal, and on it rested a blue orb, humming faintly with power. They stared in silence. "We're lucky," Eldrelon whispered. "That thing didn't find this one too." Oblog crossed his arms. "Time to go."